You're Eric, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, so I was asking Eric, but I was gonna see if anybody else had any input. So today I was working on something where like, I just have a block of code where I wanted to only execute that code concurrently one time, so that like if like another request is trying to access the same code at the same time, it would just block for a little bit until it's done. I was kind of surprised I didn't find more ways to do it. Like I found a couple of libraries that use like Redis, but I was wondering if there's like a way to do it with just like a MySQL kind of thing or something. I don't know if there's any libraries or something.
You could do it in MySQL, but we use Redis ourselves to do. We basically have a model called like the Redis lock. Thank you.
Yeah.
And are you trying to do it within the same process or across multiple processes and multiple machines?
Yeah, it could be multiple machines.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it's got to be something kind of
Redis
external.
has been the best solution we found.
I think it makes the most sense. Like we don't happen to be using it for anything, but I feel like eventually we're probably gonna want it for some kind of caching or something anyway, so we might as well get it set up and use it. Yeah, I was just curious if like people were like, oh, there's this great way to implement something, but
Yeah, we found some interesting race condition issues that it's been able to help us with.
yeah. Yeah, and then I looked. So I found there were like two. So I guess so they recommend like a kind of a process that they call red lock or something like that.
Yeah, Red lock.
Yeah, and then so there are like a couple libraries that implement that, I guess. So I was just gonna kind of pick one of those. And, I guess that's kind of the deal. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
We more or less rolled our own, either because the documentation didn't exist talking about the red lock,
Oh yeah.
like quote unquote algorithm or process, or it did exist and the person who implemented the Redis locking feature in our code base kind of just rolled his own sans research.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
what we
kinda
do
so-
is semi-close to
Yeah.
how that one works.
I guess it's the easy thing to kind of get wrong, to think you're doing it right, but you're not, or something apparently.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess their whole solution, I guess the deal is it's like super fault tolerant, because if you have like multiple slave kind of servers and stuff, like if some of them go down, it still works or something.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like pretty serious about it.
You know what the hardest part is actually testing it.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, I don't know, I mean, I guess, so I did like kind of a like crappy kind of works okay solution, and I was testing it by putting like a sleep kind of thing in there while it's in the middle of it, and then run some other stuff and see if it, I guess it doesn't really check for all the cases of like when it really, hits it just the wrong split second, but at least I could tell it at least kind of works.
Yeah, we've had to write a like Python script that would make 20, 30, 40, 50 simultaneous requests at the same exact time.
Yeah, yeah,
And verify that only one of those was able to successfully complete.
yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, that's probably a good way to do
Yeah.
that.
Who would win?
That was actually before you even started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because now we just use a Apache's benchmark thingy.
Because we were using like setting a key and then checking the key value right after, but that wasn't even fast enough. You had to do that one operation where you set the key and get the value back at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like that's the thing to do correctly. Is like has to be like an atomic thing, or else usually.
Yep. Yeah, because if you set a key and then check the value, just a little bit of time before setting it and checking it is
You're not
enough
gonna
for
learn how to do
another
that.
process to roll in.
Yeah.
And things would go wrong.
Yeah, like, yeah, like you did, like,
Even
when it
if I
happened,
were to
it
get like a
does.
free
Oh, yeah.
ticket, it's just flying and staying in New York is so fucking expensive that
Yeah.
Like, just-
My hotel's 4 nights, $1,100.
yeah. That's less than what I did. I think I also was in here for 4 nights, but I was back in like March, and it was like about 700. But this is in the summer, so
That's like the entire budget, travel budget.
yeah. Seeing as that I've already used 300 of it for Lone Star,
Yeah.
so. I have a friend who lives in New York, so I could cut out the hotel cost by staying with him. The problem is he lives on Staten Island, so that would be quite the distance to travel every day for Laracon.
Appreciate talking about the EU one? Is that what you're talking about?
U.S. in New York.
Oh, New York. No.
I love to do the EU one too, because I don't know why, but it seems like every time LaraCon happens, the EU one actually winds up being seemingly more interesting than the US one, talk-wise. Or at least last year.
I admittedly know almost nothing about New York City, but is there not a subway in
There is.
Staten? Like, I mean, there's a subway right by the venue.
So I can't remember if Staten Island actually has a subway that goes out there. I think they do, but I also know that my friend usually, I think his wife winds up taking the ferry in the morning and then subways once, like, because there's a subway stop right at the ferry, so she ferries, gets off, takes the subway. So if there's no subway to the island, I have to basically account for like getting on a ferry, I think at like 6 o'clock in the morning to make it across in time to get on the subway to get to the venue. I think.
Okay.
And that's why I'm not going to LaraCon US. If the conference tickets were a little bit cheaper, then it'd be more in the realm of possibility, but the tickets being like $400 or whatever is a bit up there.
Now, I think that's not super expensive for some tech conferences.
Not necessarily, but I feel like the 400 on top of the like shit ton of money it takes to get to New York and also to fly, like to stay there. I mean, sure, you can fly to basically pack a gun with wings and a propeller all the way to New York, but I wouldn't trust it.
No.
Well, we have a new Meetup contact person at CAFAC.
Okay.
Where Sean is switching to a different role, and now it's where is it? Boop-doo-boo, I think I already grabbed that email, so it's lost forever. I think her name was Molly.
Hey, so I work at the front desk, but
Yeah.
this wasn't on my schedule that it was on 16, so I'm on one. If
Ah.
y'all need anything, I'll be on one.
Sounds good.
Parking passes or.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah, Rashan said we got moved up here because of another event. So.
Okay, cool. If y'all need Wi-Fi now, do you need Wi-Fi?
Okay. What's the budget?
I can get a token for you.
I stole some of the cards off
Okay.
the desk.
So you
I think
got-
we have like one more.
Okay,
or
cool.
two.
Okay, we're good then.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, if you need anything, I'm on one.
Sure
Thanks.
thing.
Yep.
What's going on at in Johnny Five right now? I saw them doing COVID with like JS or something.
I have no idea. I just know that some event bumped us out of there. So if it's another meetup, I'm gonna be kind of annoyed. But I'm assuming we'll just be back in Johnny 5 for July. When's LaraCon again?
It's like the end of July, 24th or something.
Oh, okay.
It was that last week, the last full week of July.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be at the meetup in July?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should be.
Okay. You might be running things. I'm not sure yet.
You going to India?
No, we haven't had to go to India in a while. No, RTX that I work is July 7th or the 9th, and the meetup is the 6th, so I might either be sucked into doing some stuff pre-conference.
I'll let you know if anything changes.
Yeah. I will probably be here, but I will also probably, the second it ends, pull a, alright, I see everybody, guys. I'm just gone, because I need some sleep. downstairs, Molly. Ray Shan stuck it out though. She was our meetup contact for a good number of months.
A long time.
And then, as this capital factory cycle dictates, out goes one and in comes a new one.
That's how it works.
I'd just like to see a year of starting the year of like, here's your meetup organizer or coordinator, and then in that year with the same person.
I like that little hacker.
No, they just keep moving everybody around. Or they say, forget this place and bounce.
Yeah, some of them stay for quite a while, but
She, like, our last one where she didn't stay, she's just moving to a different position on the event team.
cool.
Yeah, good for her. Well. Cool. Of the 14 RSVP'd going, 6 are here. That's a good start.
7?
I don't really count myself.
I wonder if anybody else was confused, because like I know, like before when we were downstairs, at least part of the thing still said upstairs, so I wonder if some people would think, we're still downstairs. Could be some confused people maybe.
It's possible, but I feel like at
Might join
that.
that other thing.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious if they walked in like, man, this is kind of weird. It's all JavaScript, but I guess this is the meetup for this month. I'm hoping that like, I put out there, or at least I'm fairly certain I put out on
You did.
Twitter and Facebook, like, hey, we're on the 16th floor, and dropped it in the Slack for anybody that's paying attention there.
Yeah.
And I'm
There's
also-
30 days, but
I'm also hoping that push comes to shove, if they go to the guy that's downstairs, like, hey, where's the Laravel meetup? Oh, they're upstairs. But I feel like a lot of people just RSVP yes, and then
But then when they get to the front desk, do they know to come over this way?
I'm assuming so.
No, probably not.
you kind of
There's
see
no
that from there
sign.
almost.
Yeah, you
I-
can go put up a sign or something.
I would hope the guy tells them go upstairs and to the left once they get to the door, but who knows? I don't see anybody out there though. I want to know what's going on because this is the first time I've seen one, this floor basically dead, and two, them like semi-disorganized.
Yeah. This floor may be dead just because there's so much on the first floor now.
Yeah, this might be the new norm. Well, once he gets back to the sign, we'll get the show on the road. Okay. So if
Are you
11 or
airplated?
yeah.
I'm gonna need HDMI.
Okay. Well, of the 11 actual RSVPs, if I remove myself, you, and Terry, that auto RSVP yes, 6 or 5 are here, so.
It sounded like Levi who RSVP'd yes. It sounded like he wasn't gonna come anymore. But he had other things going on.
What a jerk.
Supposed to show up.
What a jerk. Yeah, I remember Ian saying he was going to show up, but.
Daniel's hiking the Appalachian Trail.
I was wondering where Daniel is. I messaged him on
Not kidding.
Slack, yeah.
He's out until Tuesday. He's literally hiking and trying to avoid bears.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, I messaged him on Slack asking the same question, or was gonna ask him the same question I asked you yesterday. And then,
Thanks for doing
I then noticed, I haven't really seen Daniel talk in Slack for a while. He must be out of town or something. Now I know.
He's hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, yeah, good for him.
Like the whole thing, or?
A lot of it, yeah. It's like a 4-day thing.
It'd take like weeks to do the whole thing.
Probably
now.
takes a long time.
Mine's on you.
I think he's doing it for 4 days. It's not.
Which part do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, not that I know the parts, but.
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah, we're
lot
gonna be
more
doing it in
physical
the middle of
activity
the
than
night.
I'd want to do on a vacation.
Not my cup of tea.
No.
Because like, yeah, they're making everyone stay in the campsites or the cabins or something because of the bears. This year.
That's a good reason. Bears are generally best when avoided. Ugh. All right, we're gonna get rolling. I'm assuming Ian's still coming. He's probably right there, actually. Perfect.
Fashionably late.
Your ears must be burning. I was just mentioning you. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to the Laravel Austin Meetup. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Review Push, for the lovely Domino's Pizza and Coke and Sprite. And also a special shout out to whoever was lazy and left the schlot cheese behind. So if you want it, go for it. I stole one of the Dr. Peppers already. I have a feeling they probably don't care about it anymore. And I hope they don't. Cap Factory doesn't expect me to clean it up, but I will anyway because I'm nice. Just a few quick things on the calendar. The Austin PHP meetup is next Thursday, as always, June 11th. And the next Laravel Austin meetup is going to be July 6th next month. I'm sure I'm missing some things, which is usually where Ian will pop in and tell me what I missed, but for sure I know that PHP World has a call for speakers open currently, which closes June 23rd this month. And then Pacific Northwest PHP is the next most recent thing I know coming up for conference-wise.
Yeah, there's basically nothing going on for a while conference-wise.
Yeah, like I saw that there was some conferences, I think, but they're like in Russia and China, and I figured that was going to be less likely for people to go to than ones in the States. So
Yeah, Pacific Northwest appears to be sending out, whether you are a speaker or not, emails right about now. So their speaker lineup should be up. Early bird pricing should still apply. It's worth going.
sweet. I next week check it out, see the pricing, because I want to go to another conference this year.
It's comparable to Woodstock.
Ah, sweet. So that's all I've got for calendar and all the housekeeping business. So I'm now going to turn her over to Eric, who's going to be giving us.
Why isn't Laracon on
Oh yeah. So I forget the conference about the freaking meetup. Yeah, Laracon next month. I don't know if you've heard of it. This Laravel thing is pretty popular nowadays, and they've got their own conference now. It's in the United States and in New York too, which is, you know, apparently a genius and forgot. I think it's completely sold out now though, or?
Yeah, it keeps releasing a ticket or two every few weeks, right?
Yeah. So if you really want to go, I would pay attention to Taylor's Twitter because he'll occasionally tweet out like, I've got like a handful of tickets ready for sale and they'll be available at this time, first come, first serve type situation. So if you still want to go, then that's an avenue to explore. So thank you for pointing that out. Now, I will turn this over to Eric to talk. Carefully, do you want to stop? You want a clicker?
Cool, so I wanted to talk today about a Laravel notifications channel. I use the term channel loosely because it's not like Slack or email or anything like that, but it does behave the same way when you're pushing out a notification. If you've played with notifications in Laravel 5.3 and beyond, where you're just like, you put a notifiable trait on a model, like your user model automatically comes with it if you're starting a new Laravel project right now. But it could be anything. It could be like a company, like you've got a table of companies and a company model, and you could make your company model notifiable. And what that does is adds a few functions, methods to the class, and then as we'll see, you can then notify that company of a certain action that happened in your application, and then the notification kind of decides how to route itself to which channels. So the channels are like Slack out of the box, email, there's push notifications out of the box, stuff like that. And then you can add other channels as well. And we've talked about some of that in the past. But this database one's a little bit different. What you can do with it is when an event happens in your application, you can store the notification for that entity, like the user, in a database table, and then quickly and easily pull it back out when you need to display it. So here's what we're building. We're building like, picture Facebook, right? Like the little thing at the top says how many notifications you have, the things that have happened that concern you. Somebody mentioned you, somebody chatted you, whatever in Facebook. So this little notification icon, it's got like unread status and read status, and then you can push notifications in, and then you can delete notifications back out. And it's per user, per entity, and it's super easy to do, and we'll see. So I'm just gonna, I actually built like an entire blog system in Laravel just to demo this, because I didn't have anything out of the, in my projects that would be simple enough to show this. So we're just gonna run through real quick. Like, we have a posts table. There's our schema. It's just a title and a body for the post, and then the author ID references the users table. Easy enough. We have a comments table. So a user created the comment, a post, the comment belongs to a post, and then we have a body on the comment. That's simple enough too. Then we're going to define a few factories for, this is the out-of-the-box Laravel factory to create a user. I didn't modify that. This is the post factory. We're going to use a post class. We're just going to fake a title and a body, some paragraphs, and a sentence for the title. And then the comments, we're just going to take a random user, and we're going to have a one paragraph for the body. For the comment, I want to say that I was really impressed with how quickly I was able to like new up Laravel, new application, and create a rudimentary blog system. It took me an hour at the most, like including creating a post, the whole user login system's out, created out of the box for you. The creating a post, listing the posts, and commenting on a post and listing the comments. So quickly, here's our database seeder. So I'm gonna create my user just so I know what I can log in as, and then I'm gonna create 5 users. For each of those users, I'm gonna create 10 posts. And for each of those posts, I'm gonna put 5 comments in. That's pretty much it for the database seeding, and that'll get me a live system to like see and play with as I'm creating the application. This is the user model that Laravel comes with out of the box. Notifiable is on there by default. It's already there. Notifiable trait is there, and it comes with the methods that we'll be using in a few minutes. And all I did was add a couple of relationships. So the user's posts and the user's comments. And then here's our post model. Again, super simple, just a couple of relationships with the author of the post is a user, and then the comments on the post. And the comments is the same thing, user and post. So which post the comment belongs to and which user made it. We did a home controller. Out of the box, Laravel has auth on this home controller, so I left that there. The only change I had to make was adding the posts to the home controller and loop through them in the view. So I'm just looping through the posts, and there's a ... If you want to see the rest, you can go to the GitHub repository to get like how I displayed the posts. And then there's our render for pagination. here's what we built. Like with that code so far, we built the blog post listing, and we have seeded data in the database. And this is our blog post listing page, and there's a new post button. Okay, so real quick, there's the post controller. We can create a post. That's like the form to create the post. We'll store the post, produce a validation, and store the post for the user. And then we'll show the post. Super simple blade file that shows, that gets the post as an argument and then shows the post. I'm not going to go through the blade files, but as you can imagine, there's like the create post page and the view the post page with the comments. And then here's our submit a comment form at the bottom. And here's how we do comments controller. We'll validate it, and then we'll save the comment on the post with a user ID and the body of the comment. Cool. So that gets us to the point that we want to add these notifications, right? Like that's like the base blog system I could build. The simplest thing. It doesn't do anything. You can't edit posts. You can't delete posts. Anything. But it gets us to the point where we can do this. So now we get into the meat of what we're doing here. We got to create a notifications table. So unlike any of the other notifications channels where you're just going to put some config values in, like API key and a secret, in this one, you have to create a table. You need a database table to store this. So Artisan already comes with that. It's got an Artisan command notifications table. We'll create a migration for you, and this is the migration. You don't need to write this. This is what notifications table creates for you. It's got a morphs column. Is anybody not familiar with morphs column?
Yeah.
So if you do a morphs column in a database migration in Laravel, it actually creates two columns. So it creates a column that stores the class name and a column that stores the ID. And so what you can do, it's kind of like saying like any possible class could get a notification. So we're going to build a table that can say, that can store like which type and the ID of class. So we can say like the notification notifiable, and then we get back the model that was notified, be it a user, be it a company, be it whatever you put the notifiable trait on and start throwing notifications at. It can store it. This table can store any model. So you're not limited to like a user ID or a company ID. It just morphs is super cool.
Sorry, in this case, is the word notifiable, that's a noun saying that this thing that's stored here is what's notifiable?
It's the word that you then can use to instantiate the model that you notified originally. So notifiable in the morphs name there is, you would like notification. I have an instance of notification, and I could like arrow notifiable, and that would give me my model back, and it would get that out of the database table, those two columns, and instantiate that exact model with that ID out of the database for you.
Right.
So simple enough. And then we've got a data column, and that we'll see is what where we store our data that we want to store in the notification. If you've ever created a notification before, it's the same process. It's PHP Artisan make notification, and you give it a name. It can be a namespaced name. You would use, I already forgot which slash you use. I always forget which slash you use. I think it's the Linux file system slash, not the PHP namespace.
I think
slash.
you're right. I always forget.
I always have to think about that one. Most of this comes out of the box for you. The only thing that we added was putting comment as an argument to the constructor so that we could store it in the in a private property there. it is gonna queue, I think. Actually, this one's not gonna queue. I think we would have to implement should queue for it to queue. But there's no real need for this one to queue because all we're doing is writing it to the database. So the other key methods in here that it comes with already and then you modify is we'll change the via, we'll change to return to database, return an array just including database. You could, in a notification, you can return an array of multiple channels that it will broadcast on all of those channels. So database could be one, and push notifications could be another, and email could be a third. And then it would, if you returned all of those, it would push to all of those simultaneously. In that case, you might want to queue, because that could take a little bit. So Slack or whatever. You have a notifiable, the object that we are notifying is passed into here. So you can actually perform logic right here to decide what to return based on that user or company's settings. Should we notify them by Slack? Should we notify them by email? We can do database calls in here in this method to say to build the array of channels to notify on. So that's pretty cool. We're not doing that. This one we're going to return database. We're going to store this for every user as it comes in. And then the other method in the notification is toArray. And if you're already using toArray for something else, because toArray is used other places or in other notification types, you may use toDatabase for storing the specific information for this database notification channel. So simple enough, we're going to store the user's name, we're going to store the post ID, the title, and the comment. We're only going to store the first 50 characters of the comment. STR limit is pretty cool because if it doesn't go over your limit, it doesn't append the ... and if it does go over your limit, it limits it to 47 characters and puts ... at the end. So STR limit's a built-in Laravel function that I think is pretty cool.
Does it break it like just whole words? I think it'll
Nope.
break in the middle of the word, right?
Yep, it'll break in the middle of the word.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Oh well.
Yeah. I don't know, for some things it's good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to our comments controller. When we're storing the comment, since you now know how the comment was stored, now we're going to add a couple of lines. We could do this in several different places through the application, right? Like you could do this in an event, you could do this on the models save, you could listen for the model save event, or wherever in your application you want to do this. For the sake of clarity, because I already showed you the controller, I'm just going to do it here in the controller. So we'll notify the post's author, right? So our user class has that notifiable trait, and post author is a user class. It's got that relationship there, so it's returning the user. It's a user model. So because it has that trait, we have a notify method. Then we just new up our notification, so comment added to post, and we have to pass in the comment. That was that constructor modification we did. And then I added another line right above it, just because my use case is I don't want to notify myself that I made a comment on the post. So just don't do this if the author is the user that is creating the comment. This is all like boilerplate bootstrap in the notification bar, but the important parts to note are the auth user unread notifications count. So it keeps track of which ones have been read and which ones are still unread. By keep track of, I mean they're unread by default and they're unread until you mark them as read somehow in your business logic. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And then we're going to loop through the notifications, add a separator if it's not the first one, and then we have this data property on the notification, and that is where all of that array that we passed back from to array, that's all stored in data. It is an array still, it's not like another object, it's still the array. It's the data array, and you can get the values out that you put in. And that's what we got. Like, that's what we set out to build, and now we've built it. We're still missing a few features, right? I made a view component that is the user-alerts component. So we'll see in a minute, I'll put it up, but it's the HTML tag is user-alerts. It's an HTML tag, and then view replaces that with my view component. It's a one file, a single .view file, so it has the template and the JavaScript, and it could have the style, but I don't have any style, all in one file. Pretty cool to do the .view file. It's my kind of first real experience doing those. Pretty neat. This is the template part. It's basically the same thing but converted to view. So instead of an @ sign for each, we've got a template v4 notification and user notifications, and then we're building the same link with the same structure, everything like that. Everything's the same. It's just converted to view. And the only change, the only like kind of interesting change is that I put a v-if on the entire thing for if we have user notifications, we show this, and if we don't have any user notifications, we don't show it at all, and Vue kind of handles that magically for us. Here is all the Vue code that it took to do that. This is it. It's a set up the data with default values, and then run an Axios call, which is, if you're not familiar with Axios, I wasn't really until pretty recently. It's kind of like, what's the PHP one?
Guzzle.
Guzzle, yeah, thank you. It's like Guzzle, but for JavaScript / Vue, whatever. I don't know if it's like I guess it's not a Vue project. It's like Guzzle, right? Like it's a third-party project. And then get the data back from our API and set our properties for our data. That's it, and that gets us back in Vue. That gets us back to where we were with the Laravel side, and then we can add a few more features after that. After we take out all of our Laravel Blade bootstrap drop code, and we just replace it with this. That's it. That's all that's in our Blade file now. It's this user-alerts HTML element, and then of course we need a route, right? We need an API route. So we're going to just, we'll skip over the if there is no user handling, and then we're just going to return an array of notifications with the data that we had decided to put in the database. We'll just return that, and then we will display, or we'll just return the count, the notification count, and the unread notification count, so that we can use that in a minute as well. And here is our, where are we going? Oh man, my computer froze. What's gonna happen? My computer mouse is just spinning.
Oh boy. Did PowerPoint crash?
Got force click.
Oh, there we go.
Hey.
So here's what we got. I had added one other thing in the template, in the Vue.js template, which was to add a class, if there are unread notifications, add a class to the button up here, or the menu item, to make it red, so that will kind of alert the user that there are unread notifications. And then when we drop it down, we see our rendered list. And that's the same as it was in Blade file, but now it's in view file. So to delete notifications, that's kind of on you. Like when you want to delete the notifications, it's kind of your business logic. It belongs to the user. It's in the notifications table. So when do you take it out of their list? That's up to you. For my use case, I decided that if that user goes to the post page, we'll delete all of the notifications about that post only for that user. So we're going to say if we've got an auth user, then we will look through the notifications. We'll filter them for the ones that this post ID is equal to this post ID. And then for each notification, we will delete the post. If, for instance, you only wanted to mark it as read when they're viewing the post, you would just do mark as read instead. I left that one commented out. So in my use case, I'm saying we'll just delete any notification when they get to the post page and they're seeing the comments that were left. There's no need for any notifications about that post anymore. And then we've got a few Vue.js methods which will mark the notifications as read. So what I did on my use case was when they drop down the notification toolbar, like in the top bar, they drop down the little the list of notifications. We'll mark all the notifications as read at that point. You know, it's up to you when you mark them as read. It's up to you like how many to mark as read. Maybe just the ones that you're displaying or whatever. I just did all of them. So all I did was another Axios call to mark notifications as read. I'll show you that API method or the API route in just a minute. And then I'm setting user unread notifications to 0 on the JavaScript side. If there aren't any, I'm just returning here so I don't make that call unnecessarily. Like if this page doesn't think that there are any unread notifications, then don't do anything every time they open the dropdown. This is a listener that I had to do with ugly jQuery because Bootstrap. So I actually fought. This was like the longest part of this project was figuring out how to in Vue listen for a jQuery event for when that Bootstrap dropdown opened. This is the worst.
Yeah.
But I ended up like throwing jQuery sort of into a Vue method, sort of. And we'll see on the next slide how I had to do that too. Because if you remember, we put a don't show this list item at all in the menu if there aren't any notifications at all. And there aren't any notifications at all by default. So there aren't any notification calls until the first AJAX call to get the notifications completes. So that's what I had to do here was I just kind of broke out instead of being mounted, I just broke it out into its own method here. But then this is our original AJAX call, the Axios call here. There's this next tick function in Vue that's like, hey, after you do everything that this round of changes has caused you to do, then do this other thing. And that's where I'm finally registering the drop-down listener. Because after notification count goes up past 0, then the list item shows up, and then jQuery can start listening for that notification, that event. If you register it before that, it's not going to work. I found out for like 2 hours.
Async.
And really simply, the last real code to look at with this is marking them all as read. So here's our API call on our Laravel side when we're making that call with the Axios library for the AJAX call. to, if we have an auth user, then take all of their unread notifications and mark them as read. We saw how to mark one notification as read. This just does all of them at once. The collection, the unread notifications property on the user, it returns a collection, but it's a subclass of collection, so it has its own, it has a couple of methods on it. And one of them is mark as read, so you can easily, just quickly mark all of the notifications in that collection as read. So one last look at the Blade file where we can see our VIF. We're not going to display the notifications at all. The notifications like list item or the menu item at all if we don't have any. We can see that here's our vbind class. We're going to do that background danger if we have any unread notifications. So that we put the red background on the link up here. And then here's our, for getting the data back out, the badge displays the little number of notifications. That's the total number of notifications. And then again with our v4 looping through them and then displaying each list item kind of like we did in Blade, but it's in view. One last look at what we built. So, I was supposed to say conclusion. What happened?
I don't know.
We created a database table for notifications, and we learned how to notify users or really any entity that an event happened, and we learned how to display the notifications in a list, learned how to delete the notifications and mark them as read. You could go really far with this, like Facebook style. You would have like a view all notifications link at the bottom of your drop down, and you would go to a separate page, and that would be all of the notifications, read or not, and maybe you would never delete. Then maybe in your drop down it's only the unread notifications. You have the power to do whatever you want with this, but it does a lot for you when you think about it, like how easy it was for me to make all of this. Truly, like, I'm not like a full-time Vue.js developer, so that's what took me the most time with this. The actual Laravel side of it and pushing the notifications into the database table and getting them back out and marking them as read and all that kind of stuff was super straightforward and easy. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I kind of came up with this project and presented it to Hunter by email of like, do you think we should do this? And he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. It's like a deep dive. And it actually wasn't as deep a dive as I thought it would be. I was just curious to see how you would do this with Laravel given this new notification database channel. Any questions? Was it clear?
Good presentation though.
Oh, thanks.
With coverage. So just to like stem my understanding, like when does your app check for the notifications? Is it like on page load?
So on when I first did it, like the first iteration was just in the Blade template. So when the master template was loaded on any page, it would make that call for the auth user their notifications within the Blade template, and it would loop through them with Blade, like any Laravel page.
Gotcha.
On the JavaScript side, when I did the Vue.js, this is the base. This is my first iteration of it before we added like mark as read and all that kind of stuff. The first iteration is just this code. So what happens is when you put this in your Blade file and you're running and Vue runs, it replaces this with this, okay, and it runs the code in the component here, and so the code all it's doing here is it's setting up the data. The data is the initial data that the component has. So initially we're going to say we have no unread notifications and no notifications and an empty array of notifications. So that's what that's doing. And then mounted is a special view method that runs when that component is mounted, when it gets replaced. So when it replaces this with that, and then mounted runs. And so when mounted runs, we're running an AJAX call. And that's that axios.get. And it's going to call our API. And instead of doing it in the blade file where we're like building it, we're just going to return an array of data as JSON from Laravel in the API. And then the Axios callback and the then stores it. And then because of two-way data binding in Vue, the notification list just kind of populates by itself because we updated the notifications, or this data. We updated that data, so because of two-way data binding in Vue, the list populates itself for us right then.
Nice.
Awesome. And that AJAX call right there is, as you showed, it's a root that just kind of queries the database and gets back its own data, right?
The database call is here. So the API call, the API route in Laravel is here. The first line is just, if we don't have a user, return like just a blank version of the array, an empty version of the data that we're returning. And then if we do have a user, then we just return. It's kind of the same exact calls that we were making on the blade side when we were just displaying the counts and looping through. Thinking about it, like this is a little more clear where I'm showing you like what the map is. I probably didn't even need to map because I could have probably just returned notification data and everything in the map, and everything would have been fine. I probably didn't need to build out the array directly, but whatever, like maybe your use case is you're storing more information than you want to give back to the JavaScript side, and that would be how you would do that. So it's not totally useless, I guess. And then take is a collection method on Laravel collections where you can say like just give me a few out of the collection. It just takes the first X number out of the collection. Somebody could have been on this blog for years or gotten like 400 comments on a post, so you don't want that notification list to be a mile long. You just take a few of them, or something like that. Does that answer all yours?
Yeah.
And I have just a side question on the presentation tool you're using. I noticed that when you're moving the mouse, sometimes it seems like it disappears behind things.
I noticed that too. It's so weird. It's PowerPoint. It's just Microsoft PowerPoint, and I'm using the little laser pointer.
It's like it's got little boxes that tips behind sometimes.
Sometimes, and then sometimes not.
All right.
I think it's less boxes that it's hiding behind. I think it's just PowerPoint.
Yeah, I think it's.
I think it's
slower,
I think since it's doing or has to chug to render out the TVs, it's just
looks like it's
not
behind.
It's like an FPS lag basically. So it's just trying to render and failing halfway through.
As an aside on this, today I discovered a PHP Storm plugin that does screenshots by you select like a few lines of code and hit a hotkey, and it copies an image of just those lines into your clipboard, and then you can just paste them into PowerPoint, and I'm like smitten.
Well,
at this
that's
point.
incredible.
I'm so smitten.
We're gonna need that shortcut because that's incredible. We're gonna dig that up right now.
Just why my PowerPoint is 41 slides. Because it was really easy to make.
More screenshots.
More code screenshots. Why not? So PHP Storm, like you do plugins and you search for the word screenshot, and it's the only one. So
Don't worry.
Super helpful.
The presentation, I did the Redis presentation last month, and I had the crazy idea to do like GIFs showing the commands in action. And after I got the first one, like rendering in a Markdown, it's just like, woo, yeah, this is so exciting. And then it's just GIF-a-palooza. It's like, can I fit 2 of them on the slide correctly? I can! Just all over the place. I loved it. I don't know if it actually helped anybody, but it was
No,
fun
that
to
was,
make.
that was good, I
It was
liked
good
the
to
way,
watch, yeah.
yeah, that helped.
It sounds like I did good, Paul.
That was last time?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed all.
No worries.
This is a good presentation too, and it's real slick, except for that one jQuery hack.
Yeah, right? Like I seriously fought, like I installed an NPM package called like Viewstrap, thinking that it would let me listen for that event better. It didn't, like, because I think I would have had, it was more limited on the template side than I needed it to be. I couldn't do the LI, which was necessary to put it in the navigation bar. When I did the drop down, it made like one of the drop down buttons that would be in the page, and it just stuck it in the navigation bar, and it didn't look right. So that would have worked, but I couldn't get it to look right. And then, yeah, I tried several things, like listening for that stupid event. It's like I don't know. Vue needs some way to listen for the jQuery events that other things are using, because Bootstrap's there. I mean, my company's dashboard is theoretically based on Bootstrap, even if the people who converted the PDF royally unbootstrapped Bootstrap, as one of my designer friends said.
Yay! How nice of them.
But it's there, so yeah, it's something that's missing from
It's definitely an
Vue.
interesting mix of like, I do need this little bit of jQuery,
Yeah.
and you put it in there and just okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
pretty much. But one interesting thing though is the jQuery and Vue are both included in Laravel's default template. I didn't have to add jQuery to do that. Like, it was just there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's expected in a
Yeah.
way, I guess. It's ugly, I agree. But I also spent like 2 hours fighting it and
Yeah.
gave up, and that was the best I got. So.
Can I say something? So this is like super unimportant, but I spent time like optimizing this kind of stuff lately, and so looking at this, so when you do the notifications, parentheses count, so it does like a database query to get the count.
Yeah.
But then when it does notifications, it retrieves them all anyway. So if you got rid of the parentheses in the count one, it would retrieve them there, but then use the cached one, so you would
Would it?
save out queries.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's a real, it doesn't make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It's based on, if for example, if off was getting the user with the notifications and unread notifications eager loaded, then you could just remove you would need the parentheses for the notifications and unread notifications properties because they'd already be loaded in. But if you don't have them eager loaded and you don't use the parentheses calls,
Sort of, but for unread notifications, I think I still do. I think it's more efficient to do the count and the parentheses on unread notifications because I'm not using the result set of unread notifications. To your point, yes, but I think the better optimization would be to keep the count and then do notifications but limit 5 there, like do notifications with parentheses and limit 5 there, and then get just those 5 and then map them, but get a count of all of them.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
So I thought about that after I made this slide, but yeah, I probably should have done something more like that, made the database do the limit instead of, actually at this point it's completely inefficient because I'm mapping every one of them and then only taking the first 5. So, yeah, it's not my most efficient work on that one, but yeah.
It works for this, but yeah, it's just an interesting thing to know about, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
there's something I'm trying to remember it. like, I know it exists, I'm just trying to find the documentation so that I'm not just talking out of my ass, more or less, but eloquent relationships recently.
But it's good to know about the caching thing, because I
Yeah.
actually wasn't sure about the caching thing.
Yeah, I think it does, and it'll kind of bite you if you're not careful, because if you like edit something, you know, and didn't expect that that was cached, like sometimes you'll go edit something, but then don't realize that it's like still like cached within that object, and so, yeah, like there's a way to refresh it, now I forget what that is, but, yeah, it definitely does cache it.
I've been bit by that a little bit,
Yeah.
every once in a while.
They have the,
It'll bite me.
it kind of explains it on the documentation. There's a section under eloquent relationships called relationship methods versus dynamic properties.
Hmm.
And part of it's the caching thing, and then also it's basically, if you don't need additional constraints, like you just want to get, say, the user's notifications, or like the user's post in this example, then you can just call like a dynamic property. You don't need the parentheses on it.
Right.
And then it'll just do its thing. And that's using like lazy loading, basically. But if you need to do other operations on it, like say you want to get the post where blah 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 blah, then you use it as a method.
Right.
It's a bit funky, but I kind of wish you would just standardize that instead of it being working two different ways, but
I think it kind of is cool because you get both options.
yeah.
Yeah, so when you do it without the parentheses, it gets the whole thing as a
all of
collection. And so it's a collection then, so you can still do stuff like map and whatever. But if you do it with the parentheses, it's still
It's
like,
a query object.
yeah, it's a query thing.
It's
so then you-
before you run get, and so then you
Yeah.
can add other things to it.
I know, like, understanding that difference, that was like a real revelation when I figured that out, and I was like, oh, that's how that works, like it. Because I was kind of confused, for a while I was like, I don't know, sometimes you use parentheses and sometimes you don't, I don't know why, but, yeah, like, understanding the difference, it was interesting to understand that.
I found the thing I was looking for. So one thing, albeit you still need notifications, so in this example, not really going to accomplish much, but one thing you can do is the eloquent models have this with count method.
Yeah.
So you can do with count and then the relationship name. So for example, you're going through all the posts, say you want the count of all the comments on it, you can do post with count comments, and then it'll just have a property on the post called comments_count.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think I knew about that, that's interesting.
Yeah, with count was new.
I think it's in 5.4.
5.4.
Or was it 5.3?
Maybe 5.4. May have been 5.4 edition. What else 5.5 gonna have?
5.3 was when with count showed up. Maybe
Yeah,
even
that's
sooner.
really interesting.
I was actually going to show off something new coming in 5.5.
Cool.
Whenever you're
I'm
done.
good. Any other questions? Alright. Okay.
That's good.
Thanks, man. Okay, so apparently whip count's been around since 5.2 even. So I have no idea when
Like
whip
some
count.
sort of, I remember that it was like a sub-release of 5.2 too. It was like not even the main 5.2 release.
Okay, 5.2 is when it showed
Didn't
up.
break anything.
Yeah. So I'm gonna real quick display. This got announced today, and it's possible you've already seen it, but I figured I'd show it off again. So in Laravel 5.5, which is coming out at the end of July, beginning of August, it will now be able to, as long as the package supports it, be auto-discoverable in Laravel. So the current method of setting up a package in Laravel installs involves composer require, much like here, and then once it finishes downloading and installing, you have to go to your config/app.php file, drop in the service provider, drop in all the facades you're using, or the package has you register or optionally register, and then you can use the package. In 5.5, all you have to do is compose a require, and they'll be already registered and good to go. Which is super useful because on top of it, it will only register, like if you do require dev, then it'll register the require-dev, but if you aren't installing the dev dependencies, say in production, it won't auto-register those. So if you use the IDE helper, for example, which you really don't need in your application in production or even like remote dev environments, you won't have to do conditional logic of checking the app environment and then registering the provider that way.
Right.
And then if you compose or remove the package, it'll also automatically unregister them. And that's all accomplished by, in the packages composer.json file. Oh, that's the don't discover. Does he have an example of? No, he doesn't have it here. Well, here's an example of how you make it not auto-discoverable. So composer.json files have an extra property, and basically Taylor's co-opted the Laravel extra tag, and if you don't want your package to be auto-discoverable when you compose or require, you just drop it here. Otherwise, or in your packages composer, or your applications composer file, you add don't discover, so that if you compose or require Laravel debug bar, it won't auto-register. You'll have to manually do it yourself.
Is it implying that if you don't put that in, it's going to auto-register it?
Yeah, so basically,
auto-discover Laravel packages?
yeah, so as long as if you don't have a don't discover and the package you're installing is a Laravel package and has the, which I'm about to dig up here once I find where he did it, here, boom. Okay. I hate the mouse lag. So this is the debug bars. Composer.json file now.
Alright.
So under Laravel, the extra Laravel object, he just has a providers array, which drop all your packages providers in there, and then the aliases for the facade registrations, and that's that. Once you install, I think he's using Composer's like different event things, kind of like the post install, post update, pre-update type things, to tie into when a package installs and then grabs from the packages composer file in that extra category.
Does it actually, do you know if it modifies your app.php? Or does it
I don't think so.
update some sort of...
Probably building a map of
Yeah.
packages in the optimize step
Right.
when you run composer install.
Interesting.
I'm curious, so let's find out.
So like I can't turn off a service provider from a package without uninstalling the package? No?
That or just adding that don't discover thing.
But I don't think that's up to me. I think that's up to the...
No, you
No,
add don't discover to your applications composer file. I fucked up and said it wrong.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So the package says, hey, here's my stuff.
Yeah.
And then you say, hey, if any of these packages get installed, or even if they're already installed, don't auto-register them for me. I got it.
Cool.
So, let's
Nice.
see. This is the master.
Look for merges from trees.
It's a lot of commits.
Support responsible objects. I'm curious about that. Might see later.
Sounds like a bumper sticker.
You. Get cache packages path. Yep, bootstrap path, cache packages.php. Register
So he's
package.
probably building that file out.
Yeah, so this is one of the foundation bootstrappers, which there's a reason I went to go looking to see if I could add to that. I forgot though. Let's see. If not that, package asset loader. Yep, so composer scripts does an unlink thing, and then clear compiled unlinks those, I think now.
Nice.
Hunter, you've already tweeted about the 5.5 edition? Holy crap.
Mhm. The article showed up a while ago. I just, while you were presenting, I was like, oh yeah, I should probably point this out. And then I was like, oh yeah, while I'm actually paying attention to the Laravel Austin Twitter account, I might as well do some social media shenanigans and quote tweet about it. So, here's that package asset loader. So if it exists, it does all the bullshit. Otherwise, it's retrieving assets and writing it, and that goes off of this. Okay, so when you set up this asset loader, you give it the where the vendor folder is, which is just assuming base path vendor, and then it's for eaching all the directories, and then for eaching all the each vendor directory, JSON decoding the composer.json file, and then based on whatever key gets sent in, going off of that extra. Should point out real quick, you probably, or maybe you did or didn't notice this, but this is the reminder that 5.5 is only for PHP 7 or higher. So, if you want to use this awesomeness, and you're not PHP 7 yet, that's gonna have to change, which includes us at work.
It's got that double question mark.
Yes, the double question mark, loveliness.
I mean, if they're gonna do that, they should just go 7.1, right?
Oh yeah, it's 7x, but I think they're supporting 7.0 and 4 forward.
I'm just gonna put it, but
So,
just go all the way.
There it is. Oh, extras.
yeah. These are just the testing. Testing fixtures. Yay, test.
So
that's
is
how that
extras even a documented thing, or he just shoves it in there?
Like, extras key on Composer?
Yeah,
I believe so.
it may not be. We're like, well, they're probably never gonna look for this. Just shove this in there.
No. Extras
Inventory's like, I feel like being a troll today, we're going to add things to extra.
there. Yeah, see, he's had extra there.
There we go.
Arbitrary extra data for consumption by scripts. This can be virtually anything. To access it from within a script event handler, you can do event, get composer, get package, get extra.
Oh.
So, extra is supported by Composer for you to just throw whatever the hell you want to.
Just ignores.
Yeah. Taylor basically said, you know what, I'm co-opting the Laravel object under extra.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
I'm kind of surprised the pull request isn't somehow utilizing this Composer logic instead of just manually JSON decoding.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I would figured it would give you a method for getting that data.
I think the reason why is that instead of doing it once on a Composer install, they're instead, every time the framework boots up, it's checking if that manifest, cached file exists, and if it does, then it just loads off of that. Otherwise, it goes through the entirety of your vendor folder and figures it out from there. Not sure if that's the most efficient way to do it, but I'm assuming it's the most foolproof way, depending on everyone's setups, so. And theoretically, since it's both PHP 7 and you probably have opcache enabled in production, don't think you're gonna see a slowdown from this feature whatsoever.
Yeah, speaking of opcache, so I wanted to enable opcache, but we have a couple servers behind a what do you call that, a load balancer?
Yeah.
How do you clear the opcache when you deploy something like it? Because
You restart FPM.
Yeah.
really, is that,
Yep,
so that's
yep.
it?
That's all it is.
Uh,
Just reboot
Or restart,
FPM.
Nginx or whatever you mean? Or?
No, not Nginx. If you're using Nginx and FPM, then you restart PHP FPM.
Huh.
Um,
I feel like I was thinking about doing that, and then I was like, for some reason, I think I have notes somewhere, but for some reason I was like, I don't know if I want to do it that way, but.
Yeah, it's, from having done that stuff before,
Oh.
what you'll do on a production thing with a fair amount of traffic is you turn off statting files on opcache so that basically it will only pick up new files when you restart
Yeah.
NPM.
Well, that's,
And that
yeah,
way it's
yeah.
nice and stable and you get your best performance out of that. And
Yeah.
then as your build completes, you do a service PHP FPM restart and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I guess,
It's just
Yeah.
a matter of
You won't drop requests if you do that?
I believe, will drop requests if you do that.
Yes.
I guess the problem I might have run into was something like, maybe I couldn't do it without being like the root user or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, telling your thing to restart a service is, you're gonna have to, you might be able to redo your FPM config to where it's not root.
Yeah, maybe, okay. So sign complicated. Yeah, I think that's what I ran into, is I couldn't do it because the user, like, I just didn't want to give the user root access that does the deployment.
I think only your
Um,
your server like Nginx needs like root access, but FPM itself, I don't think you would necessarily require root access.
In order to restart it or whatever.
I think it depends on implementation, and you've got,
Yeah.
you may want to, rather than, well, are y'all using Unix sockets or TCP to communicate between Nginx and FPM?
I think it's sockets.
Okay, that may be why you need root, is that
Yeah.
socket may be owned by the wrong thing.
Oh, well.
But if you can sort out socket permissions, there's no reason I can think of that you absolutely have to have FPM running as a root.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I need to look at that some more. Because I was kind of looking at that, and then there was also, I saw something somewhere where there's a way to like do some kind of fancy, like, it's not like sending a command to the PHP FPM thing, whatever it's called, like some kind of like so not actually just doing the regular restart, but there's like a way to like kind of like pipe some command to it that kind of like somehow tells it to restart itself.
Similar to a graceful reload on Nginx.
Yeah.
Probably.
Graceful.
But yeah, that was something else I saw, and then, I don't know, I feel like I ran into some issue with that, but yeah, I'll have to go back and look at it again.
Because having opcache with the nostat in particular is a significant speed up.
Yeah, yeah.
So real quick announcement, we're actually hiring, so if anyone's interested in knowing more about that, talk to me after.
Sweet. Another thing that actually just kind of popped up when I was looking for the Medium article you showed. Who used Laravel back in the 4 days? You might remember back then where if an error happened, it had used that whoops plugin to kind of show all the like stack trace and everything.
Yep.
It's coming back for 5.5.
Oh my.
Yep, he brought it back.
I liked it. I was sad when they got
I
rid
use
of
it, I still use it.
Yeah, you could have re-added it back. It's like super easily.
Yeah.
But he's adding it back in. Apparently, I think his explanation was
It wasn't maintained at the time or whatever.
I don't know if it was maintained. I think he's bringing it back because the current setup that Laravel uses would occasionally run into the white page of death problem, and whoops basically solves that. So, and it's great.
I thought they dropped it because like Laravel started going more toward we can go like kind of default API, but then you can add in like the HTML package and the form package and stuff. But we're an API first thing, and then he released Lumen, which is truly API like development, and
Now Lumen gets barely any love.
and so now like Laravel's sort of back to the full web framework and
Yeah. I feel like
kind of going
Lumen.
back and forth.
I feel like Lumen was a response to like every other framework having a micro framework pairing with it. So he just said, "Oh yeah, well Laravel's got one too now."
Or mainly it's like, hey, Slim 3 is coming out. I want to drop a deuce on Josh Lockhart because yeah.
But then he started making changes to Laravel proper where, and this is probably where this comes in. You'll notice that in here it shows that it's using the routes web, which Laravel added that split between API routes and web routes a while back. And the logic behind that in the route service writer actually loads it in a different way where you can do middleware specific to those routes. I wouldn't be surprised if to keep in line with that, being able to go into an API versus a web route quickly, this guy probably only shows up on web routes.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if routes in API.php don't show the whoops handler if you get an error.
I just figured he'd use like the request content type to figure out whether to send this page back or not.
Yeah, he could, but that's a way complicated logic for like out of the box framework shenanigans.
That's been on my personal to-do list in my app for like a year.
Oh, just automatically negotiating content.
For errors, for like, if I'm requesting JSON, then don't give me a full HTML page error back.
Yeah.
Somebody should totally steal that from the Slim code base because it will actually give you JSON errors back.
Oh, that's so good.
That's awesome.
It'll give you JSON, it'll give you XML, it'll give you HTML depending on your content type.
Maybe this will spark my
I'm gonna
desire
ask.
to actually go do that.
While I'm here in Twitter, I'm just gonna ask him right now. You, and then you,
Hey, dude.
and then you. Hey.
Hey, we need a reply right now.
It's wall-to-wall Twitter cafe.
Yeah, basically.
Did anybody see the 4chan explanation of what that means?
Oh god, I'm scared.
It's ridiculous.
Boo. He probably won't respond fast enough to.
He's like, let me just pause this video game with Jeffrey Weiss.
Yeah.
Respond.
I'm in the middle of a Mario Kart 8 match. Shut up. God.
Also, you know, he has 2 kids. I mean, as well.
Nah, kids. Nah. Not important. They'll live. They're malleable. He's got to answer that Twitter question. Excuse me. He probably won't respond fast enough, but if I get a
So what
response,
is
I'll
it,
post
what
it.
does Laravel use now? Is it just a custom thing
I think
you
it's
built?
just a custom thing.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty rudimentary. Also, I haven't really seen it like ever, except for in side projects, since we've had our own exception handling and reporting logic for our API. So
Debug backtrace.
yes, actually, I think debug backtrace is being was being used by something Taylor showed off that he was going to add to Laravel, but I think he actually didn't add it because I went to go dig in the source code for 5.5 and I could never find it. It was that memoization thing I shared with you and Terry a while back.
Oh, whoops, I guess now has the built-in Google and Stack Overflow for errors.
That is hilarious.
It's like, you don't even need to copy and paste anymore, it's just there.
That's incredible.
It's like the barrier to entry is so low now.
There was something else I saw that
Is it the link or is it like scrape content from the page?
It's probably similar to like Angular 1 in the console where it's like, yeah, you can totally go to this and search for the name of this exception. Well, actually Angular 1 gives you a stack trace that's in the URL, but similar idea. I just noticed that on the screenshot that he posted. It's like, whoops, did not used to have that.
Nope.
no reply yet. Oh yeah. So back in November, he tweeted. I should probably blow this up because that's really tiny. He tweeted this picture, and it looks fuzzy up there. Weird. This method that he was adding to helpers called once, and basically in the request lifecycle, if this do something expensive method got called, it would always return the same response from strrandom, always and forever. And this once method only worked on classes, blah 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 blah. Never saw it in I looked recently and it's not in the source code. So I think, like you said here, or I thought I saw somewhere in this article that he might not actually add it, but Spacey pretty much just open source the method, so you can install it now if you want to.
So what's it do?
So this is what it does. This is the once method, and it uses debug backtrace with a few flags, and then it sends that debug backtrace back into the class, and basically all it does is uses the backtrace to figure out what the hell called this once method, and all the other things like the method that was called and the parameters that were passed into the method. So you could have a function that takes in 5 arguments, and it would use that to generate a hash, and then it would check this __ memoized. I think I'm saying that right. Property that it shoves onto the object, whatever object called it. with key hash result. This is actually something that Reddit does in their massive Python application, and they use memcache to store this data instead of just the property on the quote-unquote class in Python. I guess it's a class, whatever the hell, I can't remember Python right now. So they actually hit up a whole massive bank of cache or memcache servers dedicated just to this in itself, so that if their application logic calls a method on something with like arguments ABC, it'll go, hey, have I already done the work to compute this function's work, like workload with the arguments ABC? Oh, okay, just pull the result out of memcache and throw it out there. That's basically what this is doing, just on a kind of dumbed down level. So if you're calling say you're calling a method on a really expensive method on an object multiple times, this will keep that result cached onto the object.
Like, am I right in my understanding that this is basically like just an all-purpose cache? Like it's like saying it's like writing your cache remember function with that callback thing where you can do it in the cache, but without having to name it and without having to say remember forever, and without all of that, it just does it.
Sorta, but it's not for it. Only is for that current request. So the second that request is done and everything shuts down, that it's gone. It's basically for doing expensive operations more than once within the same request lifecycle.
Okay.
So,
Debug backtrace is probably pretty expensive by itself.
I'm assuming so, yeah. But you have to use it on an object.
Early on, I just built a registry class that I made a facade in Laravel, and I store expensive stuff in there that just lives for the page request.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can actually do, and folks don't realize this, you can do a static keyword inside inside a function. You can declare a variable as static, in which case that does different things.
Yeah. PHP's got some fun fuckiness is the best I can describe it.
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh, wait,
I saw
I got it right.
I saw an instance of that just the other day. I thought that was a really interesting way to use that
God
static.
dang it, Tweetbot. I thought it took a respond. It was just way lagged behind. I'm just telling me the Laravel Austin account got mentioned by myself. Damn it. I was excited.
So the static thing you're talking about, I mean, you can do that, so are you talking about not even within a class, or just saying like within just a function?
Within a function or a method within a class,
Yeah.
you can use the static keyword on a variable in the function, and then whatever you set it to, it will remain that even the next time you call that same function.
It's fine within a class, because you can sort of do the same thing with like a static property of the class.
Yes.
And then it's kind of like, I don't know, it's one or the other, the incorrect way to do it, I don't know. I guess you can kind of do it either way, but
Yes, you can.
I feel like some people will be like, you really should do it as a property of the class, static property of the class for, so it's declared there or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know.
There are about 16 different ways to minimize things.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick, so I was like, the thing I was talking about restarting PHP FPM real quick. So I guess the way I'm supposed to do it is Ubuntu is service PHP 7.0-FPM restart.
Yep.
And so it's requiring me to be a root user to do that? Is that unusual?
So, again, I think it varies depending on how you set things up, but the standard if you install PHP FPM via Andrej or whatever, will set things up such that you need root.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into circumventing that.
Well, if you know a way to get around that, you also figure out how to get around that then, or
You buy a new server.
buy a new server. Throw it out and sort of.
Oh, this is very interesting.
Give sudo access to the user
Yeah, I could, I know.
that's
so-
doing the deploys.
Yeah.
And nothing
Those
will
things.
go wrong.
Well, you can do limited sudo.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, see, I don't even know that much about that.
You could say you can do sudo only for.
Like one command or something?
Yeah. I haven't looked into it either. but it's a thing.
Do like, so a whitelist on a per command basis?
Yeah, let me see it with I'm sure it's something in Etsy sudoers, but
Yeah, I'm sure I've done it
I've
before.
done that, but I don't remember how.
I mean, I've typically done like everything as root, so I'm just getting away from that a little bit, so I feel like I shouldn't be too strict about it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So this responsible thing, this is actually pretty cool. He's still working on it, but it looks like he's making the getting it to the point where you can just drop on your object the interface responsible. You define this how this toResponse method works, and the router, like it's not the pipeline, the actual router itself will just make it to where, kind of like how right now you can return eloquent models directly, and or a collection of eloquent models, and it'll just automatically to JSON the model. Now it's making it to where if you want to, you can just interface responsible, and basically your object will say how I should generate a response for it, with the example test being here, which is toResponse, and your route just returns the whatever object implements the interface. And he seems to be aiming it towards API packages, which is pretty handy. If I ever had the time and or especially energy to get Dingo API moving again, this would be cool.
Responsible is one of those techie sorts of words that looks like it's misspelled.
Yep. My favorite thing is when you're writing code for something and you're using a like very common word, but then you type it in code enough times, and all of a sudden your brain's like, that's not spelled right, and your IDE's like, I'm telling you, it's spelled right. Like, don't worry. No, that doesn't look right, and then you just lose your mind like I do. Yeah, that's great. Real
It's a
great.
pain to have to refactor something because you misspelled a word.
so let's see here. If you Google sudoers add command for user,
Yeah.
and let's see, here's the second result down, like allow an unprivileged user to run a certain command with sudo
Yeah.
from the May 15th, 2012. That has the information in it.
Alright, yeah, let's do that. Cool.
Awesome.
I get a quick question about Laravel and sorting data back from a table. So I'm seeing that the word ATX, honey, is being returned before the word animal farm. So it's capital A, capital T, capital X. That's taking precedence.
Natural sort.
Is that?
Are you sorting in the database?
Yeah, just going back, it's just sorted by. And I've got a couple other examples here. Now, when I just do a straight MySQL through my client, it comes out fine. So something there.
You can query in a case-sensitive or case-insensitive manner, like explicitly.
Mhm.
That might be something to do with it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because there's, I have to dig it
I've
up.
never seen it.
Check the table, the table type. It'll say like Unicode CI or Unicode
Yeah.
CI is case insensitive.
It's
Might
probably
be it.
the database encoding on that column.
Yeah.
Or if the column type is like binary or something like that.
Column types of varchar, are you saying?
What's the
What's the encoding on it?
encoding though?
Let's see if we figure that out. I'm not familiar with how to do that.
I don't use this tool, so I
Yeah,
can't
right.
tell. Is there a way to see a raw copy of what the SQL
Yeah,
would generate for this table?
Was the table created with Laravel?
yeah,
Database migration?
yeah.
Weird.
What version of Laravel are you on? And in your config database.php, do you have a collation key in your config? Because you can technically override the collation that you're Or you could have it set as the default, but I think it might actually do some fucky things when you run queries through Laravel.
Yeah, this isn't even really setting one, so it would default to whatever the server has set.
Which under normal circumstances, well, yeah, you'd have to do like a show create table to see what the collation is. See whether it's.
Yeah, you can set the encoding on a table or a column, and that makes quite a difference in its behavior.
Right, so, I'm sorry, set the encoding type.
Right.
What is, do you know what the right one is? Or
The
what
common
it's called?
best one I think is UTF-8 Unicode CI.
Okay.
And you can do crazy stuff like you can actually query in case sensitive or non-case sensitive mode, but I doubt you're doing that.
Not intentionally. Yeah.
So I guess I don't know, I forget which thing you said. So I guess the new thing now we're supposed to use UTF-8 MB4, you know about this? Like I guess it's a slightly different one that allows more emojis or does something or other.
Supports more character sets.
Something.
Basically
there's something-
UTF-8 multi-byte 4.
Yeah, so is that, and I guess, I don't know, I guess that's different than just UTF-8 Unicode, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Basically that MB4 part is kind of like how PHP has multi-byte string functions and regular string functions.
Yeah,
That MB4 allows you to store your multi-byte characters.
Too many bytes.
I mean, half of our beta is like Latin 1, so I shouldn't be talking. But
Don't worry,
yeah,
we have the same problem too.
yeah, we have to, so,
Yeah, try converting Latin 1 to Unicode and you'll have some fun.
well, that's
Good
what
times.
I was gonna ask, like, how bad is that? Cause like, that's something it's kind of on the list of things to do.
It depends on what your data looks like. It depends on how much data you have too. I know I've seen weird stuff happen before.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I think most of it doesn't use a lot of function characters or anything, so it would only screw up the like, you know, the foreign characters, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, we should be able to probably just convert it, whatever the alter table, something or other.
How many rows are?
Maybe like 1 million in a couple of tables. Maybe like 500,000 to 1 million, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I mean, I'll try it. We're gonna try it in the dev database and see what happens, and then see what we're gonna do. But have some
It'll
backups.
probably work mostly, and then maybe like 6 months from now we'll find like a weird bug and find out that some character somewhere got whacked, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's not a terrible thing with just data.
If you're converting from Latin up to UTF-8 though,
yeah, it shouldn't
it
be.
should be fine.
Yeah, you think in theory it could do it perfectly, I guess.
Hey, Eric.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully we'll see y'all next month and
Sure.
Yeah,
have fun.
when is he going back?
Have a good night.
Tuesday, okay.
Thanks for the pizza review push.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's still some pizza left behind, so feel free to
Yeah, sweet.
Alright.
Grab some.
review. There's some of the cinnamon stick thingies. Yep. So dig into that.
But that was a good talk, I appreciate it. Yeah, and like you said, pretty straightforward putting it in, huh?
Yeah, I think I'll pick the idea of like, I think this might be cool, but I don't know how complex it really is. Let's see.
Thanks for buying the pizza.
Yeah, thanks for help with the sudoer thing for the PHP FPM stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I know this thing exists, I just need the correct Google foo to figure it out.
I guess that somewhere in my head I might have thought that was one way to do it. I wasn't sure if that was really the best way to do it, but it seems like a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you,
nice and
if you're high traffic, then restarting will potentially drop requests in progress, but it's, it may not be worth the worry about.
Yeah, I think
access to the
I mean, we don't deploy super
floor, I
often, so
can't
that's
get
probably
to
right.
the shoot. So
I'm recording one.
that's on 5 or
We're on 6.
oh, so you just have your, it's not part of CapFac, it's just you have your own offices.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that. I thought y'all were just like on a different floor of CapFac.
Not anymore.
Okay, so
Almost a year.
Awesome.
fact, we just signed a lease on an expansion on the same floor.
That's
We're gonna start expanding to a new part of it.
Which explains the now hiring part too.
I actually want to talk about that now.
So in that case,
Walk or whatever.
CatFac, last time or the reason why I started bringing my own supplies, because CatFac a while ago started complaining about
Yeah.
us stealing their supplies, so I'll start bringing my stuff too.
That's the portion that bird garages don't usually do. Is there something about validating it?
There is, you have to go down to the first floor,
Yeah.
and you were here last month, right?
Yeah.
That area by Johnny Five.
Is it like where it says like the security desk, or is that
It's,
just?
it actually might be the new part that's to the right of the security desk.
Okay.
That new area they opened that is across from Johnny Five.
Yeah.
The dude's probably there.
Like the guy that came in?
Yeah, the guy that came in and said, oh, I didn't have this on the calendar,
Yeah.
he's the one that can validate it.
Okay.
So whichever desk he's at, will be the nice one. But it'll be on the first floor. Well, can't clean up shit because I don't have access, so that's
So I think.
because I probably need to have
But
it back
I'm,
all the way
you know,
down.
I'm interested in, I don't know, I've
Also,
never heard
does
this.
it just turn off itself for live streaming?
So that's
So what were you saying about being used as I walked in?
Oh, we were talking about how you said you're gonna come, but I was like,
bootstrapped.
I was pretty much saying, Ian's probably gonna show up a little bit later, as I was saying, as he walks out the door, and I was like, oh,
This is like the
Been around
fifth
for
time.
6 years, but we've only about
Perfect timing.
About to hire a sixth employee. It's me and Daniel and,
I'm gonna run down and see if he'll come up so we can throw the boxes in the trash thing.
it's me and Daniel as like the developers right now. We have a third developer who just left this week, so we're just gonna replace him. And mid-level-ish Laravel developer is probably what we're looking for.
Great, okay.
I don't know what your, salary requirements are and all that kind of stuff, but do you know what you're looking for as far as range goes?
I don't know, I think it's a little bit, that's whatever, but,
I mean, I think we posted something around the 70 to 85
Okay.
range.
Okay.
Puts you, I just don't know if that takes
that
you
would be
out
a little
for
lower than what I'd be looking
Yeah.
for, but just a little bit, okay? But yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, so it's a full Laravel application. We're on the 6th floor of this building,
Mhm.
and I don't know, pretty laid back about all that stuff.
Okay, so so you said you posted,
We posted it on the website. So if you go to reviewpush.com,
Mhm.
there's a careers link at the bottom,
okay,
and then it's the PHP developer job there, and so you can submit a resume, and we'll go to Lee, and then he'll forward it on to me.
okay, cool. My name's Steve Steele, so in case I do apply for it.
Cool, yeah. Please do.
Cool, thank you very much.
Cool,
Thanks,
thanks.
and that was great talking.
Oh, appreciate it. Good, it was kind of